Oof. Wow. This looks different. This looks a little different today.
Whoa.
I know Will. I don't know who the hell everybody else is, but we're going to do a really good podcast today. I'm kidding, guys. We've got Let's Talk Broncos here. Bree, Zach, Joey. Look, I love their podcast. And Will and I, if you guys watch this show, know that by Wednesday, we stopped trying. So I said, let's juice up these podcasts a little bit. Let's get some people who are at training camp, who are paying a little bit closer attention to the Broncos. So every Wednesday, we're going to try and just shoot the shit together, talk about the Denver Broncos, and see what happens, right? Is that the plan? Is that what we're doing?
Sounds like the plan. I mean,
Am I hosting you? Are you hosting me? What are we doing?
I think we're going to be hosting here. But, you know, you mentioned at training camp, Zach and Bree at training camp. I am not sitting on that hill, Brandon. That is what I'm not going to do. That hill is set up like they do not want us to be there at all.
Yeah,
it's
trying to roast all the media.
Steep. It's like, hey, Walmart, put in some chairs, some bleachers.
Yeah,
for real.
Man, look at the awnings the Cowboys have in Oxnard. They don't even play anywhere near Oxnard, an entirely different state. And I mean, they've got nice bleachers and air conditioning. They've got luxury suites. I mean, come on, Walton Penner Group, let's upgrade it.
That's too nice.
You asked whether or not you were hosting us or we were hosting you. I will 1,000% take over hosting duties because that's just what I do.
Tell them what the plan is, Bree. What are we doing today? What are we talking about?
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a panic meter for the Denver Broncos and a couple of subcategories that are going on right now. But I have an interesting question for all of you. Perna, I'm going to start with you. Mike Shanahan snubbed from the Hall of Fame. How are we feeling about that? Because I feel gypped.
Sucks. It's like, does the Hall of Fame even understand football? That's my real question. I thought maybe there was a chance Shanny was going to get in because I saw Albert Breer tweeting about it and like, ooh, he's giving him a nudge. Maybe he's trying to, hint that he knows something. Turns out he did not know. He was saying anybody who knows football should understand why Mike Shanahan should be in the Hall of Fame. And now they got to wait, at least until next year? They try again?
It's crazy frustrating. I'm still mad at the Hall of Fame for what they did with Pat Bowlen. They got Jerry Jones in the Hall of Fame, although his health was in fine shape, kicked Pat Bowlen's induction down the road a year or two. And I don't know. There's too many posthumous people getting into the Hall of Fame in the sense that they need to get him in sooner. You've got 4 of the 9 people that got in this year were not fully able to enjoy it. I don't know. They need to prioritize more of these people. It should be something you get to celebrate when you're alive, not something that like your family is celebrating without you around. And I mean, Mike Shanahan is as obvious as a case as it gets. He's one of just 2 coaches with multiple Super Bowl rings that is still waiting to be inducted. And unlike George Seifert, who's the other one, Mike Shanahan absolutely revolutionized the game of football more than just about any other head coach. Like Paul Brown, who invented like playbooks, is probably ahead of him, and maybe Bill Walsh, but it's few and far between. Like John Heisman, he's in the 5, 6, 7 most influential football figures of all time, and he's still not in the Hall. It's an embarrassment.
See, that was already a much better argument than Will or I would have done on our own.
Yeah, I feel like I would have been. Yeah, that's stupid. Anyway. No, I'm in the same boat with you guys. I just think it's dumb. I don't like it. It doesn't make sense to me. I'm a Broncos fan. Right. I think Mike Shanahan should absolutely be in. Even like his coaching tree, right? When you start to look down all the people that have evolved that offense, to his son, to Sean McVay, to all of these other coaches in the NFL, it's crazy that he isn't in. Just the way he's evolutionized the game, like made it better. I mean, everyone's looking for. You remember that period when everyone was looking for the next Kyle Shanahan? And then they found the next Sean McVay. Both those guys come from Mike Shanahan. There would be none of them without Mike Shanahan. So yeah, I think it's ridiculous.
The irony, I think, is those guys who are below him on the coaching tree are going to get into the Hall of Fame before he does.
Yeah,
even though they're just using his plays.
I feel like the NFL will induct Deion Sanders into the Hall of Fame again, but as the CU Buffs head coach before Mike Shanahan gets a chance.
Yeah.
Although
That's
didn't
painful.
Deion say he wants like another level at the Hall of Fame, like a VIP?
Like a tier.
They should, but not put Dion in it.
That's exactly right.
What player do you think
Take
it
his
was that
idea,
got
then
in?
like you can't get in, Deion.
What player do you think it was that got in and Dion was like, no, I need the VIP. Was it like Vondae Barber got in and he was like, no?
Probably
It was
like
talk. They were talking about Eli Manning too much, and he said we have to put a stop to that.
Don't even get me started on Eli Manning.
Okay, guys, let's get into the meat of the show. But I'm just going to remind everyone, Mike Shanahan was the most prolific coach in Denver Broncos history, and he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. I am going to set up the little panic meter here, and we're going to start it off with Perna. Perna, I want you to let me know, with Elliott Fry out and Brett Maher suffering from somewhat of a form of yips, how do you feel about the kicking situation right now?
Okay. So we have different tiers of panic, right?
We have
got
six being
die
the worst.
is the worst, I'm assuming.
Let's die.
Yes.
Death would be the worst form of panic. Then we got cry, we got hide, we got sigh. They rhyme. Ride again. No, just ride.
And
then
Party.
which doesn't.
Party is like
And
we're
then
feeling
party.
really good. I don't think anybody's
Yeah.
partying about these kickers. And I talked myself off a ledge
Phew, thank
basically this
goodness.
week about the kicker situation. Okay. And then I don't know, like 5 minutes after I felt like reasonable, they cut Elliott Fry because he strained a muscle or some shit, right?
Yeah.
And is there like a chance that he can come back? Is that what they were alluding to? Or is he just done? They're like, you got hurt, even though you made your field goal? No injuries. Can't have it. So he's done, right? No
I think he's
coming back.
pretty much done.
I think they said they hope to bring him back, but with all of those, it's like, how honest are they really being? They signed more guys today. I'm not confident we see Elliott Fry in a Broncos uniform again.
Okay, well, I'm crying. I'm at cry. I'm not ready to die because I don't think I would die for any kicker, just on principle. But crying feels appropriate in that, I'll feel good about this if the Broncos offense is scoring a lot of points and they're winning games by a touchdown, or 10 points. But we haven't seen that we're approaching like a decade. So I think kicking is going to remain important. We all know Brett Maher has the better leg, right? It's like he has a big leg. But if he's missing kicks that are transferring over from the playoffs still, I don't think the yips disappeared, and I think that just might be who he is as a kicker. So,
Wow.
I kind of agree. I might go a little lower panic just because I think the Broncos were kind of in a bad kicking situation in the past, and at least now it's cheaper. But yeah, I don't like this kicking situation at all. There's a good chance this Broncos team is in a lot of close games again. Their record last year in close games is something that's been talked about a lot. They lost tons of one-score games. You're hoping to reverse that some this year and get some better luck in that regard. But having a poor kicker is not going to serve you well in those close game environments. When it's coming down to the last-second field goal, it seems very likely that Fry or Maher, whoever they end up picking with, it is not going to come through in the clutch. The one thing giving me some level of optimism is the fact that Maher was terrific last season up until the playoff game. Made 90% of his field goals, 94% of his extra points, was one of the most accurate kickers in the league, was considerably better than McManus, and then totally melted down and had the yips. The flip side of that is we don't always see kickers bounce back from the yips. Blair Walsh, a Pro Bowl kicker who had one missed kick and then his career was like done from there, being a great example of that.
Brett Maher is, you're basically saying he's like Justin
Walsh.
Herbert.
I think
really great. And then playoffs, but his team lost.
Aaron Rodgers, yeah.
If he can even guide the Broncos through, he's a kicker. I don't know how much guiding he's going to do, but if he can quote unquote guide the Broncos through the regular season and get them to the playoffs and then choke, I mean, that's still great progress for this team.
Zach, just a couple months ago, though, you were talking about McManus possibly not being that important to the Denver Broncos. Now that he's gone, Maher comes in. You already stated how important he was during the regular season. I think it's just a little bit of a mental lapse there. He misses one field goal. Why are we hiding?
It's because it's the jitters, Bree. He has the Ben Simmons going on right now. That's my worry. that's what I hope he doesn't have. This is stretched from now to the playoffs to the preseason. It's the fact that happened then and now. That's what scares me. A little bit of the Ben Simmons. I don't know. I would bring in like 8 kickers. And we're trying them all out. We're doing a whole tryout with the kickers. I don't feel comfortable with any of them. I agree with Perna here. I don't know. Am I in the let's die? I don't know. We're right around there though.
That is so dramatic. Will, did you give us a ranking? Okay, go ahead.
Is there anything worse than death?
No, the 2022 Denver Broncos playing the Indianapolis Colts.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna go let's die too. Not to be overly dramatic or anything, but I think Zach, to your point, saying that Brett Maher was good last year until the playoffs is it's like saying the Titanic was running smoothly until it hit the iceberg. I think I made this point to Brandon, but it reminds me of the old baseball player Rick Ankiel, where he was a pitcher and then just couldn't even he was throwing it to the backstop, so much so that he had to stop pitching and play outfield, and ended up being pretty good at outfield. But I don't think Maher can play any other positions on the football field, so he's really got to, remember how to kick it straight.
Here's 2 names that were thrown around, and when I say thrown around, I just mean random people talking shit on Twitter. Mason Crosby, Robbie Gould. They'd have to work around a little bit of money. But I would feel so much better about specifically Robbie Gould, even though he maybe doesn't have the leg. Isn't he one the more accurate postseason kickers ever?
Yeah, he is.
Is that just a stat I have in my head? Maybe that I heard somewhere. But I feel like you want a veteran that you trust. And
I thought you were assuming the Broncos were going to go to the postseason.
But
I thought you were hoping
I'm assuming we're definitely going. I'm just saying I feel better about Gould or Mason Crosby, who did kick at CU. So what a nice homecoming that would be for Crosby. All right, we can move on from kickers.
I would like to never spend 12 minutes on kickers ever again. Will, I'm going to throw it over to you, and we're going to go with what's at top of the mind for Broncos country. Russell Wilson, where's your panic meter?
I'm at a 1. Well, let's party.
Let's party.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I mean, after last year, the expectations for me are just as low as they can get. So, and I don't think he's going to be any worse. I think he looked confident throwing the ball over the middle. I think they're going to hide his weaknesses running the football anywhere from 35 to 100 times a game. And I think his chemistry with Jerry Jeudy's only getting better by the game. So I'm feeling good.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, let's party might be a little much for me, but I also haven't found an in-between between let's ride and let's sigh. It feels like a pretty big gap right there. And that's where I feel like I would land. I'm going to go with let's ride, though. It's hard for me to imagine him being worse than last year with a competent staff at the end of the day. I think Sean Payton has done so good with other quarterbacks. Everyone wants to point to Drew Brees, but even Taysom Hill has looked competent in some starts for Sean Payton. Teddy Bridgewater got paid his massive contract with Sean Payton. When he came to Denver, it wasn't that great. Sean Payton has consistently made these quarterbacks look really good. So I'm on the let's ride. That's where I think I am.
I do think one interesting part of that Sean Payton boost is that, and I think he's plenty smart enough to figure this out, but the guys we've seen him have that tremendous success with have often had the opposite holes in their game from Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson struggles in that quick game area, in the short to intermediate parts of the field. That's where Drew Brees and Teddy Bridgewater are at their best, right? We check down Teddy was what we were all talking about a couple seasons ago. I'm at let's sigh just because I agree with you guys. It's got to be better than it was last year. But man, if this guy's on the roster in April, he's getting a fully guaranteed almost $60 million for 2025. After this year, the Broncos are going to have to decide, do we want to be with Russell Wilson for the long haul on a massive contract? Because these last 2 years have been cheap, around 20 million or so. Do we want Russell Wilson on that $60 million contract, fully guaranteed moving forward in the future? Or do we want to cut bait now? Because this is looking like on the downward trajectory. And right now, I think it's going to be in the middle of those two, which is I think it's going to be in the middle, which is uncomfortable for Broncos country. It gets you kind of in that Kirk Cousins-y realm we've seen the Vikings stuck in forever. And that's why I'm sighing. I'm not going to jump off a ledge about Russell Wilson yet, but I'm definitely not partying yet either.
I've discovered the answer. It's incredibly easy. Ciara is pregnant right now, correct?
Yeah, correct.
Yes.
What were Russell Wilson's last 2 seasons when she was pregnant?
Whoa.
His kids are 3 and 6. Statistically, we're talking about 2020, 2019 Russ. 4,200 yards, 40 touchdowns, 31 touchdowns. And then we're looking at, let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're looking at 34 touchdowns, 11 picks, 3,900 yards. So I think if his wife's pregnant,
can you
35
can you do all the seasons
touchdowns
where Phillip Rivers' wife was pregnant?
That was every game.
Career stats every season.
Why he's better than Eli Manning.
I like Ride just because I don't think I've ever seen Russell Wilson in that shirt, and I think it's his best shirt.
Yeah.
He looks happy. Let's get back to that, Russ. Good, happy, toned on vacation, Russ. That'd be nice.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm going to go with Zach. I'm going to have to agree with him. My vantage point is pretty low. I want to see it in regular season before I get too excited, but he had another great day out at training camp today. The offense, I think, strung together their best day out on the field. I'm hesitant. I'm not ready to get hurt again. I get my hopes up. I get them diminished. I can't jump on board yet. But maybe one day I can get back to Let's Ride. All right, guys. Let's hit up this next one. Zach, I'm going to throw over to you. Sean Payton, the change from 2022 to 2023. How do you feel about Sean Payton's tenure as the Denver Broncos head coach? Panic away.
I'm at Let's Party. This is where I'm partying because I think this is what's going to rescue Russ if he gets rescued. This is what's I don't believe the whole this wasn't sorry, lost my train of thought there for a second.
Why was it this flashing graphic? Did it distract you?
that very much threw me off. Sorry, I totally lost my train of thought. I am a big believer in Sean Payton. I think he can maximize what is on this offense and what he has in Russell Wilson. And I also think it's important to just reset this Broncos culture. I mean, the last time they had a coach that was coming in that you felt somewhat confident could be a good head coach was Gary Kubiak, and they won the Super Bowl with him. The Broncos have had a shaky history of hiring coaches really since Mike Shanahan. They hit on Kubiak, and otherwise it's been a lot of misses. Going to the Sean Payton feels much more in line with their hire of Gary Kubiak and even with their hire of Mike Shanahan, if you want to go all the way back then, or even their hire of Dan Reeves. So this is something I can get on board with. I think they needed an overhaul of culture, and you also need someone who can come in there and take the reins back from Russ. I think it's easy to forget this now, but the Broncos were very beholden to Russell Wilson during the Nathaniel Hackett era. Whatever Russell Wilson said went because of the crazy investment or the very strong investment the franchise has made in him. Now they've made a strong investment in a head coach.
Why did Russell Wilson say, let's only win 5 games then?
Yeah,
that's the
good
real
question.
It's a good question. You shouldn't have brought over all those Seattle plays you couldn't run. That's my take.
I agree with Zach. I think it's Let's Party, man. I'm so excited for Sean Payton. I don't think the Broncos have had I haven't felt as comfortable in a Broncos head coach since Gary Kubiak was hired. And if before that, if I even look past that, it's Mike Shanahan. These other guys, I mean, I'm sitting there looking at a list. We got Vic Fangio. We got Vance Joseph. We got these type of coaches. Sean Payton, he demanded a first-round pick. That's how valuable he was. And the Broncos ended up actually paying that because That's how great of a coach he is. Like I said earlier, his ability to adapt to other quarterbacks and quarterback skill sets is elite. It's really, really great. And I think Russell Wilson is going to bounce back because of it. I think he's going to have a really good year. And I think the Broncos offense is going to be a lot better, especially in comparison to the years in the past, this upcoming season.
You guys,
Joey, does that mean you're partying? Or you're partying?
I'm partying, right? Yeah.
Okay.
You guys keep glorifying Mike Shanahan, but he's not even a Hall of Famer, as we addressed early in the show. Okay,
it's ridiculous.
I mean, I think I would actually like to party with Sean Payton because I think he might be fun.
We all seen that video.
We've seen the video.
I want to be at Let's Ride with him, but I'm just so bitter still that it's like, prove it to me. Like, prove that you can win with this team. The thing that makes me feel good about Sean Payton is I wasn't super excited about when the Broncos hired Gary Kubiak because it just as a Broncos fan, I loved Kubiak and Wade Phillips coming in together. But it's also like, is John Elway just hiring literally the only two people he knows that are available? So at that time, it felt to me like this. I don't know if this is going to work. I thought they would be better than John Fox. No way did I think that was going to be, after halfway through that season, that would turn into a Super Bowl. So since I feel like kind of muted about Sean Payton, I'm going to assume that my instincts are wrong and that he's going to be really good. But I'm kind of just like, I'm so broken and jaded. I have
You're fading
nothing
yourself
inside of me until I see them win week 1. And God, if they lose to the Raiders week 1, and the Raiders extend their win streak to 8,
we're down bad.
Like, I might just quit talking about football at that point.
Yeah.
But, so I'm at sigh-ish, middle of the road.
Oh.
I like the idea of McDaniels versus Payton, 2 visors on opposing sidelines.
The visor bowl.
It's very powerful, especially when you're in a dome and there's no sun anyway.
What's it blocking out?
Yeah. I'm gonna go with I'm gonna ride with Sean Payton. He's as competent, as experienced as they come. I think the only reason I'm not partying is I really like Gilligan hats.
It's hard to party without Gilligan hats.
I think they're a bold statement. I'd never even heard to them referred to as Gilligan hats before last week, but I like that new term. I'm going to throw that into my lexicon. I just worry a little bit that, the pendulum swings so far every year when you change head coaches, to go from Hackett, who's just this total pushover, to Sean Payton.
We talked about this, Will, on the last podcast.
Thanks a lot, Brandon. Very cool. Well, I lost my train of thought. Move on.
Yeah, I got you here.
Pendulum, Will.
I like the pendulum. I think there's a spectrum here, but I'm going to hide even further under y'all. I think Brandon was headed in the right direction, but I'm going to hide for now because, much like the change from Russell Wilson, the change in coaching staff is pretty instrumental to how your team functions. And when you change absolutely everything, you go 180 degrees in another direction. You change the momentum of a team. You change a lot of the roster. It sounds like the defense is responding well to Vance Joseph. It sounds like the team is responding well to the adult in the room in Sean Payton. But I am so scared as to what it is to be expected. Last year, I think expectations were way too high for Broncos country. This year, I'm bringing mine all the way down to the floor because honestly, it can only go up from here. And I think that is appropriate. I'm seeing a lot of comments in the chat. People are confused as to who we are. I just want to remind everyone, we're Let's Talk Broncos. That's Good Sports. And together, Let's Talk what? That's Good Sports.
Let's make it really long.
Anyway,
yeah.
It's just like a continuum. It's a continuing path here. Joey, I'm going to throw the panic meter over to you. Let's talk about the trenches. Do you want to do offensive line or defensive line? I'll throw it to you.
Let's do offensive line.
Go for it. Panic.
Okay. This one I'm scared about. I'm in let's hide, I think, is where I probably would be right now. This one scares me, specifically because of Garrett Bowles right now. That preseason game didn't look that great. Zach was on our podcast the entire offseason bringing up about, hey, this is a tackle that isn't coming off the best year and also is coming off a season-ending injury. So that scares me at left tackle. Luckily, the Broncos did sign Cam Fleming, and he did show that he is a player. Like, he could go out there and replace somebody pretty well. But, man, that first preseason game freaked me out. It freaked me out a little bit. And everyone says don't freak out to the preseason games, but I am. I'm here to freak out about it because that was not good at all. That was really, really bad performance by the offensive line. I'm hoping that, maybe I'm just overreacting, but at the moment, it's scary.
Where would you put it, Joey?
Let's hide.
I like it. I'm pretty concerned about the offensive line too. I think I'd go all the way to let's die. I know it's one preseason. I know it's one preseason game, but my goodness, they have invested so much in this offensive line being a strength of this team. And it was a disaster. Russell Wilson was pressured on 64% of dropbacks in that game against an Arizona. It's horrible. The Dallas Cowboys, who was the very best pass rush of the last 5 years a season ago, pressured quarterbacks at about 40% of the time. So you made the Arizona Cardinals look dramatically better, who have, the least talented defense in the league, made them look dramatically better than last year's best pass rushing unit, the best pass rushing unit of the last half decade. The Garrett Bowles thing is very scary. I thought Powers had a bad game as well. That might be a product of having Bowles next to him. Thankfully, Isaiah Prince looked solid. So maybe you've uncovered a tackle that can give you some insurance for the Garrett Bowles concerns. But I'm all the way. I'm at max panic right now about that offensive line. It could not have looked worse, I think, in that first preseason game. And at this point, I'm hoping they just prove me wrong. I can't hold on to any more offensive line hope at this point.
Brandon, what do you think about that?
I'm going to let Will go first.
Okay, Will, go ahead.
Thank you, Brandon. I'm going to go with at first I was tempted to die about this O-line situation. But I'm going to, step back from the ledge a little bit, and I'm going to go down to sigh. I'm going to sigh about the offensive line. I've kind of talked myself into this being a product of not enough time together with the offensive line because I'm not an expert on offensive linemen whatsoever, but people who are smarter than me say that it takes a long time for new units to mesh together. So you've got Bowles coming back from an injury. You've got Powers, obviously a free agent signing. And then you've got McGlinchey, who's not even there yet. So I think once this all comes together and we see the actual 5 starters on the field, then I think it's time to evaluate. But until then, I'm not going to lose my mind over one game, albeit it was, like you said, Zach, against the Arizona Cardinals, who are not known for their defense. Or their offense, really.
Yeah. They're not very known for their football at the moment.
No, they're known for their baseball.
Yeah.
Bree, where are you?
Well, they're not known for their field either, or they are. They're infamous now. Let's talk a little bit about where I'm at. Shoot, I don't know, guys. There's so much fluidity that's involved with the offensive and defensive lines that one person out of place, which right now it seems to be a lot on Garrett Bowles' shoulders, are for him to basically show up and start becoming a stronger link within that offensive line. I'm worried that the push around we saw at training camp, which made defenders like Nick Benito look like superstars, are setting us up for a little bit of failure as we enter the regular season. They're going to see some pretty tough defenses as they start their first 4 games. I'm worried here, but I don't think I'm at let's die territory. I don't think I want to hide either, because what I think is going to happen is someone's going to need to step up. I'm going to go let's sigh. So we're going to stay here right on this one because I don't think it's time to panic necessarily, but a couple of games and a little bit of negative momentum is really going to pull this team down. And if an injury happens, there's already too many people out. Ben Powers needs to step it up. I think you're going to be surprised who's starting week 1 when it comes to tackle. But Quinn Miners is my only hope, and I'm putting all of my faith into him.
I like
Perna.
it. I mean, Quinn Miners is the guy.
Rightfully so.
Yeah.
He will save us all. We'll say let's party, but that's not for the offensive line. That's for Underdog Fantasy, which is sponsoring today's episode. Make sure you use my link below to sign up over at Underdog in the code Let's Ride.
Please do that.
The code is Let's Ride.
Underdog. Not any of those. It's
none of the other things we said today. This is the code. So actually, boom, it's right there too.
All one word, no apostrophe.
All one word. They'll match your first deposit up to $100. And now in Colorado, we can finally play the Pick'em games. So stat totals for games, you stack 4. It's got to be 4 in the state of Colorado. They said you got to make at least 4 higher or lower projections. And I tried one for preseason, and there's lots of preseason ones. They're tricky. Just look up how many snaps a guy might be playing, and that should help you. But you can also enter in their fantasy leagues, Best Ball Mania tournament. That's their big one. 15 million in total prizes, 3 million to first place. And of course, a bunch of our private leagues that we do. So, make sure to yeah,
that's right. There we go.
Yeah. And the QR code works. Okay.
Well, in that case,
I'm shifting. Bree and Zach, were you both at training camp today?
Yes.
I
wasn't today. Sorry, in general.
What's going on? What are people talking about there? What are like the things that Will and I would see on Twitter and probably just get annoyed by, but you kind of get like their feeling that they're real.
Yeah.
The things that I was getting annoyed by when I was going to camp, I think it'd be the defensive line. I was not loving what we were seeing from them. I loved what we were seeing from the edge rushers. You know, Nick Bonito was looking great out there, but it looked like they had no answers behind DJ Jones and Zach Allen. They were rotating every single person on the roster up to the field with the starters, which sometimes that's a good thing, and it means they like everyone. In this case, considering the lack of experience on the defensive line, it felt like they were just throwing stuff against the wall and hoping something stuck. And so that was something that looked, pretty real to me and pretty concerning.
Honestly, I'm concerned about the idea that Russell Wilson's scrambles are him making good decisions, because I think if you're holding on to the ball that long, that's a sack. They just can't make that sort of contact in training camp. You're seeing a lot of scrambles for holding on to that ball. If you're tucking and running as often as I've seen Russell Wilson do during training camp, I just don't want to see that in a real game. So hopefully his decision-making improves, but that's something that stuck out a lot to me. It does look fun, though, when he runs it all the way back for a touchdown, though. So go Broncos.
Listen, I haven't been there, but we're podcasting, so
I don't have to pretend, Joey.
Yeah,
you don't have to pretend.
I mean, Russell Wilson, from everything I've seen, including from Zach and Bree, is that Russell Wilson looks a lot better recently than he did at the beginning. And I think that's kind of the development that you want to see from your quarterback with a new head coach. And that's the reason why I'm excited about the season. I'm excited about this offense, man. I really am excited for this offense. That it's that natural progression to the point where we're getting people today talking about by far the best the offenses looked this entire offseason. So I think that is like a really good thing. And Bree, do you agree with me? You were there at practice today.
I said it earlier today to start the show. I think they had their very best day of camp. The offense is showing steadily improving odds at having a successful end of camp. Tomorrow's the last day open to patrons, and I think they're going to do it again just because it keeps getting exponentially better. Not to say there's still not concerns, because we're realists here on Let's Talk Broncos, but I think that they're actually improving, and that makes me feel a little bit better.
What about Greg Dulcich?
Ooh,
how's the hair?
The hair is fantastic. If you slow it down to like 120 frames per second, it looks immaculate. But let's talk about Greg Dulcich, because
do you think he's going to play more as the season goes on, or are they going to use Troutman more just to make up for maybe some of their deficiencies on the line and blocking?
Well, I think when you talk about how important it is to have a blocking tight end, you need to push Greg Dulcich in that direction. But I think Sean Payton has a different sight on what Greg Dulcich brings to the table. Not only is he their best receiving tight end, he can grow into a blocking tight end, and that does take some time with the tight end group. I don't think they're punishing Greg Dulcich. I think Alex Troutman brings something more to the table that they can play him right off the bat. He's a veteran. They can trust him. Doesn't have the greatest hair, though. I mean, that's no mark to him. But when you're comparing him to Greg Dulcich, there is no comparison. Although I worry a little bit that Greg Dulcich will get lost a little bit in the sauce. Courtland Sutton is absolutely tearing it up out there. The Russ to Court connection is obviously apparent. Where does it leave Greg Dulcich, and will he be running true tight end sets? Zach, what do you think?
I mean, there's going to be plenty of room for him at tight end. Adam Troutman is going to be Sean Payton's guy, and I get why he's getting these looks, but kind of to something Joey said with this Greg Dulcich situation, once the games start mattering and getting your best players out on the field is the goal. Greg Dulcich is going to be the cream of the crop and ultimately rise to the top. I'm not that worried about it. While there are some blocking issues with him as a tight end, there's none with him as a wide receiver or as a like flexed out player, whatever you want to call it in the modern NFL. And you know what the Broncos just lost for the entire season? Their best run blocking wide receiver, Tim Patrick. With a team that, to Will's earlier point, is hopefully running the ball 35 to 100 times a game, you need your wide receivers to be invested in blocking. Jerry Jeudy, I love him. He is not invested in blocking whatsoever. So throw Greg Dulcich out there some. He is not dropping off much of the athleticism that you'd see from the wide receiver position. He can do a lot of those wide receiver things in the passing game while also providing you the run blocking from that position that you might have gotten from Tim Patrick. Frankly, if we're talking about wide receivers, he's probably a better run blocker than a Tim Patrick. It's just different bars.
Ooh. That's a good point. I don't think anybody really talks much about Tim Patrick and what he does in the blocking game. So thank you for reminding us of what we won't have for this year.
I'm sorry.
And the other thing that happened this week, though, but we've known Javonte Williams is going to play this weekend, right? But it was just confirmed. So the national big guys could confirm that he's playing this week. Any idea how many carries, how many reps Javonte is going to get in preseason?
I have no idea.
I'm
hoping the
28 carries. Get it.
28 carries, 93 yards, 1 touchdown.
I want him to set the preseason rushing record.
Yeah.
Okay, that would be hilarious. I hope that really doesn't happen, though. I really do. I was happy that he didn't play last week on that field. Oh my god, that freaked me out.
I'd be happy to see him play like a down or so. Like, I don't think he really needs to be out there.
No, definitely not.
I think you guys are right.
Yeah, 10 this first week. That's my number.
I'm taking the under.
Is there any upside really to him being out there at all?
No, I guess you just get to see what he looks like in live contact a little bit coming off his injury. But other than that, I don't know why he would be out there.
Which he's Javonte Williams. Like, he doesn't need to, he's used to contact. He gives contact. He doesn't absorb it.
Right.
Exactly. I don't, whatever though. Sean Payton, he's the boss.
You're just risking injury at that point, man. I really hope not.
Yeah, the fan in me, like, I agree. Logically, no reason to put him out there. The fan in me, I'm excited to see Javonte Williams on a football field again. I was so scared when that injury happened, and just, maybe wait until September to do it, but I'm going to be excited nonetheless.
If they're saying he looks 100%, then I believe him. I trust him, but what do I know? I just work here, so I don't want to see him run anything too crazy. And even if he doesn't. What did you say, Will? You said he didn't take on any energy. He doesn't absorb any of it. He just
he doesn't really take contact. He gives it.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's fine. We'll take that in theory, and we'll just say better safe than sorry.
I like it.
So
Yeah,
I almost broke my desk.
You almost just broke your desk. Cool.
Not
Hey,
bad.
I don't know. I really just don't let the guy play. I'm tired of it. Just don't. Just sit him out the entire preseason. That's my take to end that off.
As Broncos fans, we're cool with everybody getting preseason reps this year compared to last year, except for Javonte Williams. We're just like, please. That's like the one guy we definitely need to make this offense run. Especially now that a bunch of the free agent running backs are starting to sign with other teams. There wouldn't be a lot of options there anyway.
Yeah.
All right. We're 40 minutes.
We're 40 minutes.
I told you guys it would be, we'd get to here.
Like a
We
charm.
try for 30. We'll go to 40 minutes. Is there anything we're missing before we get out of here? Wait, I know one thing. Anybody watching on my channel that hasn't subscribed to Let's Talk Broncos YouTube channel, go do that now. They're going to be putting out multiple pods every week, doing different things than Will and I, but every Wednesday we'll be here together like one big weird family. And just make sure you go sub to them on YouTube, follow them on the Twitters, and yeah, really excited to have you guys here.
Thank you. Excited to be.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you for having us. Excited to be here. And if anyone wants to head over to that YouTube, we got an X's and O's like film breakdown from the first preseason game, highlighting Elijah Garcia and Jerry Jeudy. Awesome content. 6-minute watch. Go over there right now. Check it out.
Nice. X's and O's. Go there for the X's and O's because Will and I will never.
Awesome. Yeah. Hey, thank you guys for having us on. That was an absolute blast. Every single Wednesday we'll be back. Yeah, and like Zach said, just go make sure to follow the Let's Talk Broncos. Subscribe over there.
And leave nice comments or else.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. Go comment and say you feel bad for Will when I said don't talk about the pendulum anymore. Say I was wrong. I shouldn't have said it.
No more about the pendulum.
I hear pendulum. We're dead. All right.
It's not happening.
Wait, we need a sign out. Will and I have the worst sign out. Now we need a new bad sign out.
How do you guys end your show?
Good night.
And John Elway played his entire career
Have a
with
good
ACL.
one.
And good luck.
Get Shanny in the hall.
Oh.
Oh.